All right, hello everyone. Welcome to your restorative practice. We're going to do a lot of work with shoulders, chest, and spine today, and we'll spend some time on our bellies. And so if you do want to lay out an extra blanket over your mat so that the surface that you're laying on has a little extra cushion, you can. The one or two props that I would recommend would be something that you could use kind of like a pillow. So that could be a folded blanket, it could be a block. I don't want it to be too high, so make sure it's not like a super puffy pillow, because we'll use that for the most part to support the side of the face, the neck, and the head when we're working with the shoulders and the spine. With that said, we're going to start out in child's pose for a few moments. And I'm going to offer a different variation of child's pose than I usually do. And this is just an option. You can take traditional child's pose if you prefer. So this option, typically we'll take our knees wide, right? And then we'll let our big toes touch, which is great. It's a great way to do child's pose. If you want to try something a little different, you can also take your feet wide so that knees and toes are in the same line. So it's a little bit more like a setup for hero's pose, Virasana. So you can see that as I sit back, my hips go in between my feet, okay? And that might be a lot on the hips, especially if you've been mostly sitting in a chair all day and your hips feel tight. So feel free to skip it if it doesn't work. From here, we're gonna lay our belly down in between the thighs, rest the forehead on a prop or the floor. Option with this variation with the feet wide to take the hands back and curl the fingers around the heel bones. It's just gentle, so I'm just like gently cupping my heel bones with my hands. I start to get a little heavier in the hips. If this is too much on the knees or the hips or the ankles for whatever reason, just don't do it. You really don't need to. It's just an option. Whatever variation of child's pose you're working with today, let's take 3 deep breaths here. See if you can start to breathe consciously in and out through the nose. One more deep breath here. If you have your hands curled around your feet, start to walk your hands forward underneath your shoulders. Press up to tabletop briefly. And we're going to set whatever prop we're going to use. And you may or may not need it, but I'd rather you have it here at the top of your mat just in case. Whatever prop you think you might use, like a pillow at the top of your mat. I guess I take that back. You might want this because we're going to head into Sphinx. So in Sphinx, we stretch our legs back, we're on our belly, and then we place our elbows underneath the shoulders. Forearms and palms are flat on the floor in front of you, like the number 11. And ideally, your elbows are underneath your shoulders or forward of your shoulders, right? But not behind your shoulders. Okay, so underneath or forward. And then underneath the forehead, if you do have a block, here's what I like. I like to take a block underneath my forehead. I set it on the highest setting, and I just rest my forehead there. Okay, so that could also be a stool if you have a similar height, or a stack of books, a pile of pillows or blankets. But you also could just let your head hang, let your chin draw in towards the chest, and let the hips sink into the floor, let the belly sink into the floor. Maybe take the feet a little wider. Again here, breathing with intention in and out through the nose. We'll be in Sphinx for about 3 minutes, and that last minute here, I'm going to give us an option to intensify if it's something we want to explore. And again, when I say option, I truly mean it. The purpose of this practice is for you to start to trust that you know what your body needs, that you don't blindly listen to anyone, including me, to tell you how to do something in your own body. You might try something and think, oh, that works for me. And you might try something else and think, that doesn't work for me. This is just a laboratory for you to explore your body, how it reacts to certain things, how it feels, and then finely tune what is right for you. And that is a practice that happens over time. Okay, so the option here for this last minute would be to come into seal pose, which would mean you would take your hands wide on your mat. Okay, or you can even see my hands are off of my mat, so they're towards the upper outer corners. And I'm going to press down into my hands. I'm going to take my feet wide and then lift my elbows. So seal pose is like the next iteration of Sphinx pose, and it's just a deeper back bend. I'm really compressing lumbar spine, getting heavy through hips, pelvis, belly, trying to draw the shoulders down the back away from the ears. And this can be pretty intense, so this is why we don't hold it for that long. Just about 2 more deep breaths here if you're taking it. Remember, you can always set your elbows back to the floor. And then we'll set those elbows back down if we lifted them. And we're just going to pause here for a moment. So move that prop out of the way, whatever you were resting your forehead on for Sphinx. Take your feet a little bit closer. You can stack your hands right underneath your forehead, elbows go wide, and let your forehead rest. If you want to, bend your knees, lift your feet up, and sway your feet side to side. That might feel nice on the low back after that intense compression. And then when you're ready, you can release the legs back behind you. Get still again for a few more breaths. All right, so we'll start to bring the palms underneath the shoulders like we're going to press up to low cobra, and we're going to take the right elbow out to the right side. So left hand stays underneath the left shoulder, right elbow wide out to the side, like I'm making a goalpost shape with my right arm. My right palm is facing down, my forearm is in contact with the floor, and my elbow is in contact with the floor, okay? And then I'm going to turn and look at my left fingertips and rest the right side of my head on the mat or a prop. Here's where maybe a shallow pillow or a folded blanket underneath the right side of the face can come in handy. You're going to press down into your left palm, roll the body weight onto the right hip and shoulder, and then extend that left leg on top of your right leg or behind you. You can always bend that knee and plant the foot as well. And you can always just explore movement in that top leg. I like to stretch my left leg, or whatever leg's on top. In this case, it's the left leg. I like to sweep it back behind me and let it kind of float in space. It can kind of be, since we've just done that work in Sphinx pose and seal pose, a progression of sorts of that kind of back bend sensation, working a little bit deeper into the spine. And then eventually that left leg will get heavier. Maybe the foot will rest on the floor behind you. Remembering these are just options. We'll be here for about 2 more minutes. Do your best to breathe fully. This is a bit of a twist. There's a lot going on in this shape, but we are rotating the spine slightly. And what can happen sometimes in twists like this is the breath can get stuck in the belly. We can forget to take that full inhale all the way up the spine. So I want you to imagine like your inhale breath has 3 parts. And the first part of that inhale comes into the low belly. The second part of that inhale comes into the rib cage. The third part of that inhale comes into the chest and the throat. So you're full, full, full of air. Exhale it all out through the nose. Try that a few more times. Inhale to the low belly. Inhale to the rib cage. Inhale to the heart and the throat. Exhale it all out through the nose. Okay, again, inhale to the belly. Take more air into the rib cage. More air to the heart and the throat. One long exhale through the nose. Continue, inhale belly. Inhale rib cage. Inhale heart. Exhale through the nose. Inhale belly. Inhale rib cage. Inhale heart. Exhale through the nose. We'll start to slowly unwind out of this twist, coming all the way back onto the belly. Take your time with that. Oof, it can be a lot. And we'll take a few moments in between sides. So option 2, stack the hands underneath the forehead, elbows wide, rest the forehead on the backs of the hands. If you need to decompress the low back a little bit more, you can always press back to another round of child's pose, or even find movement in something like cat and cow. So you choose. We're going to take about 5 deep breaths here. One more deep breath wherever you are. And then we'll start to set up for our second side. So take your time and try to stay with me here. Legs are extended back behind you. Right hand underneath the right shoulder, like you're heading into cobra. Left elbow wide out to the side like a half a goalpost shape. And the elbow of the left arm is in line with the shoulder or slightly above the shoulder. The palm of the left hand is flat on the floor. Forearm is in contact with the floor as well. Now you're going to turn and look towards your right fingertips. Rest the left cheek on, maybe it's a prop, maybe you don't want one. It could be like a folded blanket if you like. From there, you're going to press into your right palm, roll your weight onto your left shoulder, left hip. This right leg, it can explore space behind you or it can stack on top of the bottom leg. Your choice. You could also do a little bit of both. See if you can relax your neck. Relax your jaw. Soften through your throat. We have about 2 minutes here to get heavy and still. Noticing the pattern of breathing If you want to try this 3-part inhale again with me, we'll empty all the air out of the lungs first, and then begin to breathe into the low belly. Breathe into the rib cage. Breathe into the heart. Exhale all the air out through the nose. Inhale, low belly. Inhale, rib cage. Inhale, heart. Exhale through nose. Inhale, low belly. Inhale, rib cage. Inhale, heart. Exhale through the nose. Inhale, belly. Rib cage. Heart. One long exhale through the nose. Continue on your own. Try that breath on your own a few rounds. We're really going to take our time on our exits, mindfully unroll out of this twist. I mean, to be honest, it's so much is going on in that shape. Heart opening, rotation of the spine, back bend. So really take your time unwinding, and then find something that feels good in between shapes. So again, might be belly down. Just resting in this belly down Shavasana, pressing up and back to child's pose, or a movement in maybe cat and cow. Three more breaths wherever you are. All right, and so our next shape, the focus will be the hips, and you might feel this in the low back too. So I want you to remember that the foundation of this next shape, it's for the hips. I'm going to give you an option to add on some more shoulder work, but that comes secondary. And if the shoulder work doesn't work, or if it's too intense, you stick with working on the hips. Okay, so first thing, we'll set up the hips. If you have a hardwood floor like I do, you might want to blanket, because we're going to send that right knee out to the right side for either half frog. So half frog would be ankle under knee, or half tree with sole of the foot towards the opposite inner thigh. Both have their merits. Both work on hip opening. One can be more intense than the other, just depending on where your tissues are tightest. Okay, so here's the setup for the legs. From there, you can come back down to the belly, rest the forehead on the hands if that is enough for you. If you want to continue working on the shoulders, and again, this is optional, come back up to the elbows. It's like you're setting up for cobra kind of, or sphinx. Here's the option. The right arm, okay, so right arm is going to thread underneath left armpit. Right arm threads underneath left armpit. That right palm faces the ceiling. And then my left hand, I can make a fist and let my head rest there. Or I can slide a prop underneath the side of my head. or use the back of my hand. So you can really play with that left hand to support you, or you can use a prop, such as a block or a pillow or a folded blanket underneath the head. And you might not want something underneath the head. This can be really intense on the shoulders. So please, 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 mindful choices, and feel free to unwind at any point in time through the shoulders if it becomes too much. If your breathing is starting to become quicker, if your muscles are really shaking, probably somewhere you've taken it a little too far. So your body's asking you for more support, to unwind a little bit. You might start with the shoulders. We have about 1 more minute here. That shoulder rotation is getting a little too intense for me, so I'm going to unwind and just let this be about the legs. Your choice, what you do in your body. All right, if you've got that right arm threaded underneath left armpit, really carefully unwind through the shoulders. And then extend your right leg back behind you. Take it slow. Take a moment here, stack the hands underneath the forehead, let the elbows go wide, and rest on your belly. I'm going to start our setup for the second side, and I want to emphasize that the foundation of this particular shape, it's about the hips first. Shoulder addition is completely optional. Hips come first. All right, so left knee is going to go out to the left side. If you want to pad that inner knee or ankle with a blanket, move the blanket across to the other side of the mat. I'm going to come back onto the belly, take that left knee out wide, and then decide what you want to do with the foot. So if you want half frog, that foot is in line with the knee, right? So you're making like a 90-degree angle with that leg. If you want half tree, then slow the foot towards the inner right thigh. That's the legs. Okay, so you're pretty much on your belly. Now from here, we want to thread the needle with the left arm underneath the right armpit. You're going to reach across with that left arm, let the palm face the ceiling. And then maybe you slide a prop underneath the side of the head. And that prop can be your hand. It can be a fist, it can be the back of the hand, it could be a folded blanket or a pillow. Remember, you don't have to keep this shoulder rotation, but you can work with it for a few minutes. Your breath is key in telling you if you need to come out. So notice if your breath starts to increase, it's very rapid, That's probably the first indication. Muscles really start to shake. You can't relax. Probably you've gone too far. So just always be willing to back out. We have about 1 minute left on this side. You can make a wise choice as to what you want to do with that final minute. Personally, I'm going to unwind the arms and just let this be about my legs, my hips. Last 3 breaths here. And if you've got that left arm threaded, start to unwind through the arms and the shoulders. Take your time with this. That left leg can extend back behind you. Press the palms underneath the shoulders, and then you might press back to child's pose or cat-cow one more time. And then we'll set up for a final Shavasana. That could be laying down on your back if you like. Could even come to an upright feet for meditation. I have about 2 minutes in Shavasana today. Really do hope you take the time for that. Letting your body be still, asking nothing of it, just letting it go, letting it rest. Shavasana. Feel free to stay in Shavasana as long as you like. If you need to move on with your day, Start to add movement to fingertips and toes. When you're ready, you could stretch your arms overhead and breathe into the length of your body. Take your time and roll off to a side, passing through fetal position and into an upright seat. Taking your hands, palms face down on top of the thighs, shoulders shift over hips, ears shift over shoulders. Inhale, grow tall through the spine. Exhale, settle into your seat. 3 more slow, deep breaths like this. Last 2. Last breath here. If you'd like to join me in bringing the hands together at the heart and bow the chin into the chest to close out our practice with reverence and gratitude. May you use the fruits of this practice to serve your highest good. May you share it with those around you that you love and who could use healing. May we all remember to send love and healing to all sentient beings around the world. May they be happy. May they be free. Namaste, yogis. All right, everyone. Hope you enjoyed your practice. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Whatever you do, take care of yourselves, and I hope you come back again soon.